Welcome to Gaia's Love, a podcast of brief messages to help humanity bridge the gap to the new earth. My name is Vivienne Gerard. It is my delight to be a scribe for consciousness today, sharing the wisdom that flows through from Source. Here we go. Episode 156. It is Thursday. Here in Cincinnati, it's kind of gray. It was rainy this morning. It's really warm, which feels amazing. It's so good to be outside without a jacket on. Although this is usually when everyone suddenly starts getting sick because the weather switches and we're not 100% ready. So I'm sending good vibes out energetically so that everyone stays healthy in this warm weather that we're having. So today is my Friday, in a sense. I am going to be out of town this weekend, so there will not be a podcast today or Monday. I'll be back on Tuesday. Which leads me to the topic of today's podcast. The title is Exchanging, and I have to say I was so surprised when I went back through my titles, because sometimes if I feel like I've used that title before, I'll go back and look and just tune into what I was sharing or what the vibration was at that time. There's no podcast yet on exchanging with that word, which really surprised me. So I'm enjoying that it's coming up today because it feels perhaps a little overdue. Okay, let's see where to start. In episode 83, called Synchronicities, I shared the story of how I met this beautiful woman named Alicia Mathewson, whose music I've featured many times in this podcast. And that episode, 8 plus 3 equals an 11. 11/11, she and I have had two events that we've hosted together on 11/11, November 11th. Maybe January 11th too. I feel like we've done several things around the 11 numbers. And today's podcast is 156, which adds up to a 12. What I love so much is I never plan the exact timing of any podcast because I don't know how life is going to move and create some pauses, or like this weekend, days where there aren't podcasts. And so the numbers, when they show up in the way that I'm recording them, bring me so much joy and I guess validation that I'm right where I need to be in the timing of everything, which is what we were talking about in yesterday's podcast. Again, I love the synchronicities of it all. So today, adding up to a 12 is perfect because my friend Alicia is creating an album this weekend that is called 12 Rebirth. 12 is a very important number in her journey, and you can learn more about it if you go to her website, aliciamathewson.com, and you can find out more about her album. What I'm going to share is my perspective of how this all ties into the word exchanging. 3 years ago, I heard her music, maybe 3.5 years ago, I heard her music for the first time in 2015. And it was under beautiful circumstances, which I share in podcast 83, if you want to go back and listen to that one, if you haven't heard it yet. And I listened to that music when I was channeling, writing, transcribing, putting together my first book. And the music, the lyrics, the voice that comes through Alicia was critically important in holding steady what I was sharing in that book about consciousness and love, and the way that I understand the expansion of consciousness here in our planet of Earth with humans. This crazy place that we decided to call home for a while. And so that book was quite a journey for me, and Alicia's voice was a big part of holding me steady throughout it. When the book was finished, I sent her a copy. I didn't know her. Part of this is what I share in the other podcast. I didn't know her in the physical, but I knew what she was holding energetically, and I felt at the time that the best way to exchange with her, to say thank you to her for the way she had held me steady through that process, was to share my book with her, and I hand wrote a note and just said, here's how I honor what you have contributed to my journey by sharing your sound in my book. And so I sent it to her, and it opened a conversation because she actually read the book, and then we started corresponding a little bit, and then started spending, some time together in person. She lives on the East Coast. I live here in the Midwest. And so she's always come here, and we've had some beautiful events that we've co-hosted, and we've developed a really incredible friendship. What I love so much about life, energy, souls, the agreements that we make before we come into the physical form when we're souls and we're kind of mapping out what we think, what we feel might be interesting to play with in our human journeys. We come up with these grand schemes, and sometimes they go exactly according to our grand plan, and other times we take some detours, we have some side delays, like I talked about yesterday. Sometimes we're laser focused and we go all the way into exactly the thing that we're supposed to be doing in our creative journeys as souls in human bodies. And then there are these ways where the exchange is just a full, complete, balanced circle, where one energy going out in this open-hearted, pure way connects with another energy that is willing to receive that in a pure way, and then something new gets created, and then more energy is transmitted back to where the first energy started from. So there's this complete circle. It's like a boomerang that comes all the way back. There's a complete arc in a circle that lands right back where it started, and it's more than it was before that first energy was sent out. It would be like watching a boomerang that you throw out, and along the way, every single molecule of air that boomerang is touching in its arc to come back, it's adding more momentum, more strength, more power, more delight to the boomerang. So when you receive the boomerang on the other side, it's a millionfold better than when you sent it out. That is the way I feel right now. To me, the ability to be supported by Alicia's music without even knowing her as I created my book, and then to send that book to her, that was enough of an exchange for me. I was more than happy to send the boomerang out, not ever knowing if it would even make its way back to me, because that wasn't why I was sending it. I was sending it as a thank you, as an exchange for an energy that felt complete to me. What is coming back to me is 1,000,000 times better than what I could possibly have dreamed up. I was sharing with my daughter, with my husband, with one of my best friends the other day, this exact feeling, and then Alicia left me a message and reflected the same feeling back to me, which is how I know we're always in such beautiful alignment when we're in our truth. What I was sharing with my daughter first was, can you believe that 2 years ago I was writing my book? I didn't even know Alicia. I had no idea that she was a person. All I knew is she had an awesome voice, and it had been guiding me through some really crazy times. And then here I am 2 years later, and she's asked me to come be in the studio with her while she records her next CD. Are you kidding me? How? If you had told me that 2 years ago, I would have told you were crazy. Like, what? No. There's no way. It wasn't even something I could have thought up in my conscious mind. There's no way. There's no way in my mind that the idea that I would be at her next album's recording. What? Crazy. And yet, here we are. I fly out tomorrow morning to New York, and I'm going to be in the studio witnessing the creation of an album that is titled 12 Rebirth. How is that possible? And the miracle, the absolute miracle, that somehow as souls we came up with a plan that was way bigger, way bigger than what our humanness would understand. And because we stayed in such alignment individually, not knowing each other, doing our thing, like creating what we knew was meant to flow through each of us, we ended up in this place that we are today, where the boomerang coming back to me is, as I said to a friend the other day, it's bedazzled. It's sparkling in the most incredible, glorious ways that I could never have expected. I'm not a producer or recording person that can sit in a studio and have any input whatsoever on creating an album, but I sure as hell can sit there and celebrate watching my beautiful friend Alicia make another album, and that is more than enough, more than I could have ever asked for. What a gift. What an incredible gift. And I know, because she has shared this with me, that for her to be able to record these songs, which she has shared with me, have flowed from a lot of the activations that have come from she and I connecting, and the expansion that happens when I shared the expansion of my journey through my book, and I gave her that book. It opened up a next level of expansion for her. As she expanded, her channel opened up to receive all these beautiful songs that were just waiting to come through in the right moment. So that expansion brought through so much of this music. She was ready for this incredible opening in her soul, in her creativity. And so for me to come and witness her recording, it's like her writing of her book. It would be like Alicia sitting at my table with her guitar, singing me songs as I write my next book. I'm now sitting in the studio with her as she's recording these beautiful, beautiful pieces of music that are going to heal so many hearts, that are going to guide so many souls into rebirth. So the exchange it's complete, it's up-leveled, it's just beginning. It's a millionfold. It's greater than we could have ever expected. There's no hooks or hang-ups or places where we feel unequal. There's just this really easy flow and support of one soul, me, and my truth and my alignment and my purity of what's flowing through me, witnessing and celebrating the exact mirror of that in another beautiful soul. And that is genius seeing genius and going, what do we even know? Right? We don't know anything. We're just showing up and trying to figure it out like everybody else. We're souls in human bodies having these absolutely incredible journeys, and there are these moments of bliss that we couldn't have come up with in our conscious minds. So I sit here on this Thursday morning absolutely delighted at the exchange that I have with this beautiful friend of mine named Alicia Mathewson. Like, are you kidding me? It's so good. It's so good. And I'm excited to share what this album is going to be in this space in the future. And I don't know what else we're going to co-create. And I don't know what this co-creation, now that the boomerang has come back, now there's more boomerangs available for each of us, her and I, to be sending out into the world. So who knows what is flowing next, and who else is going to be touching those boomerangs as they move out in huge, big arcs and come back to us. More always creates more, and that always creates more. So the book that I wrote, this CD this album she's recording, who knows what else is going to flow from this expansion of consciousness. But I know, like, this exchange, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. So I am going to go have lunch with my daughter before she goes off with her dad for the weekend and wraps up her spring break. I'm going to go hang out with Alicia and witness an album being recorded this weekend. And then I'm going to come back Monday, and my son is on his spring break. And so Tuesday I will be back here in my groove doing my thing. And between now and then, there's this beautiful rebirth that is happening. So if you listen to this in real time with me, then send some love, send some mojo, send some extra oomph of energy into the recording studios where 12 Rebirth is happening. And let's expand continuously and with such love and such joy the creative process that started 2 years ago with my book and is now boomeranging all the way back with this incredible album. Blessings, my beautiful friend Alicia. Blessings. Thank you for tuning in to today's vibration. Let's take this message of pure love out into all of our communities and continue expanding love here on Gaia. So much love from my heart to yours.